Karen Bashir. And joining me for this bronze medal final is former world #1 Nikki Hunt. Nikki, Olympic Games is on everybody's minds.
Yeah, this is the last dress rehearsal now. The final chance to qualify in Paris in 2 weeks' time at the last World Cup. So they've got to come out here and show how good they are.
Well, as I said, this is for bronze. We'll get tucked into Ukraine and Denmark's situation with regards to Olympic qualification in just a minute. But first, let's go down for the team introductions.
Shooting on target #1, Ukraine, Veronika Marchenko, Anastasia Pavlo, Ilya Sicheniko. On target #2, representing Denmark, Kristin Andersen, Randy Dayton, Maya Jager. The line judge for this match is Kristina Tiflidou. Shooting first.
Well, here we go. This for the bronze medal. Nikki, before we get tucked into the situation for the Olympics, look, it's very early this morning. Can you just remind me how the scoring works for the team matches?
Yes, it's best of 4 sets here. Each team shooting 6 arrows, 2 per archer.
And the target they're looking for?
So to get 2 set points, if they win the end, and 5 points is the winner, already clear winner.
Well, here we go. Underway straight away. Veronika Marchenko starting first for Ukraine. Just popping it into the 9. Well, I think that was pretty much just popping it into the 9. We're definitely going to need to have some communication there. One going right and the other one going left and into the 6. Curious start there from Ukraine.
Yeah, like we've said, the wind here is going to play quite a part in this. You can see lots of flags around the venue. The archer's going to be using those to get information about where to aim. They'll probably need to aim off at times, but it's the consistency of the wind. It changes here, so they've got to be on top of it.
8.
Dane leading things out for the Danish team. This is Kristin Andersen. Well, right and left again, but a slightly better grouping. And here's Maya Jager. Didn't look so happy with that one, Maya Jager. Okay, Nikki, let's get straight into Olympic qualification in these early stages. 3 more arrows from each in this first set. What is the situation with the Ukrainian women's team?
So the Ukrainian women's team have qualified the whole team, so they've got their team spot already. Denmark, however, haven't. They've just got 1 individual spot. So this is a really important opportunity for Denmark, you know, to get together as a team, work hard, and you know, for their last chance in 2 weeks' time at the last World Cup.
Well, we're getting like 2 groups here, aren't we, for the Ukrainian arrows? Well, finishing up with a 45. Three 10s here. Very difficult in these changeable conditions, but would mean Denmark would win this set handsomely. They've got room to manoeuvre. Well, there is our first 10 of the match. Randy Dane popping it in there, world number 39. 10. Impressive stuff here from the Danes. They got their sighters in, all 8s, subject to a measure, of course. That second arrow. Jaeger here with the last arrow. Plenty of wiggle room now, as you can see. And up into the 9. So Denmark with the early lead. 53 plays 45. Curious set of arrows from Ukraine, certainly in that first set. And Denmark off to a flying start. Okay, well, as we're looking at Ukraine here, do you expect, as an expert analyst here, do you expect this to be the team that we're going to see in Tokyo for the Ukrainians?
Most probably at this stage. We're 47 days out from the games now, so most teams will have made their selections. They'll be using these events as the warm-ups ready before the Olympic Games. You want to be out there, get your team together under pressure, working well together, so it's really important, this event for them.
Yeah, so Ukrainian team made up of Anastasia Pavlova, Lydia Sichnikova and Veronika Marchenko. Interesting on the other side of the shooting line with Denmark. You said to me just before, Denmark boasts the first named athlete going to Tokyo.
Yeah, Maya Jaeger was the first named athlete back in October in 2019. Feels like a long time ago now.
In days before.
Yeah. She won her spot at the World Championships in 2019 and was named by the federation back then. So interesting mix though with Kirstine Andersen, making the bronze medal match here as well. So she's obviously a strong contender, and I'm sure they hope as a team, this is so important for them to work together as a team here, go to Paris in 2 weeks' time and really fight for a spot as a team.
Yeah, interesting as well, isn't it? It's an interesting dynamic in the Danish team because the IOC said when the world ground to a halt for the obvious reasons, the IOC said whoever has qualified will remain qualified, hence Maya Jaeger's position is cemented in. But the burst in the individual form for Kirstine Andersen would suggest that if that rule wasn't in place, she'd have a stab at the Danish space. It's
a really interesting thing because some teams, have looked to qualify their archers because it's years gone past, and what's happened in that time. So, it's an interesting decision.
Yep, and the Danes, of course, will be pleased with this lead because there is that one last chance for them to qualify as a team, and so we might well see Jaeger and Andersen on the shooting line with Dane in Tokyo. Ukraine trailing. Will shoot first. Veronika Marchenko, world number 45, gets set number 2 underway.
10.
Having to reset here, you can see the wind blowing. That's world number 18, Anastasia Pavlova. See her getting buffeted around by the wind. Just pushing out into the 7. Wind has been a real factor here over the medal days.
Yeah, these archers, they only get around 20 seconds per arrow, so it's 2 minutes to the whole team segment there. So, they can choose to wait a little bit, but that's going to put extra pressure on them later. So it's a hard decision. I mean, she waited and she still got hit by the wind, so I'm not sure it really paid off.
No, that's Sichnikova anchoring for Ukraine. The world number 100 is just 28 years old. We switch over to the other side. It was a good start from Denmark. Can Randy Dane keep it up in the second set?
8.
Well, it's down to Jaeger to pull them back down into the tens. Interesting, those first 2 arrows from Denmark both going high. Any particular reason for that?
Not that I can see. I mean, Ukraine started off low, didn't they? And then they came up, but whereas Denmark started fairly central and then they've gone high. So whether there was a shift in conditions which has shifted everything up is possible.
Yeah, everyone's made their adjustments, and yeah, everything's lifted for all of them. Pavlova following up with an 8. Well, considerably better than the 45 they scored in the first set. A 50 that potentially could get marked up to a 51 if that 9 asterisk is measured as a 10. 54 available to Denmark. No longer. 7 means that 51 is the maximum they can get if Anderson and Jaeger can both shoot 10s.
9.
So now a 10 is required to share the set points. Down to Maya Jaeger. She shot a 10 with her first arrow here. Up into the 9s, and just like that, we're all square at 2 set points apiece. And Ukraine fighting back immediately. That's the beauty of the recurve game, isn't it? The set point system means that effectively you wipe the slate clean, and it has given Ukraine a chance to come back in. But there's some curious shots going on here, with a very curious setup in the first set for Ukraine, and now everything's changed in the second set for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, the conditions, like we've talked about, are so changeable. There's different flags down the range. Where the cameras are behind there is a big hedge. So sometimes the wind can come across, as we can see on those feather flags, and then switch and swirl across. So they've really got to be aware of that. And you know, we also saw them getting buffeted with it as well. And that's really hard to shoot in, because you've got to try and hold as still as you can. But yeah, it's going to be testing for them.
Yeah, and of course the arrows are flying over 70 metres, and you can see those flags at the end on the left-hand side, the windsocks, and they're about 15 metres apart, would you say, and they're blowing in 2 different directions.
Yeah, it's really not helpful as an archer to see those windsocks in different directions. And I mean, what do you do? It's just so hard to know where to aim. So if it's like that, you just aim in the middle, because like you're trying to hit the middle. So if those windsocks are in opposite directions, the best thing to do is just go for the middle.
And you've talked about this range. It's known for changeable conditions. We're right by the turquoise coast. It's a matter of metres away. And there's a set of trees down the right-hand side, and then of course you've got the target defender, if you like, behind the target. And so we are creating an eddy at the end of the range.
Yeah, and with that stadium, you can see the distance as well. So there's a whole range of different wind patterns here.
Well, it's making for exciting competition for the neutral. 2 set points apiece as we go into the third, and it's Ukraine to shoot first again. So Veronika Marchenko, the world number 45, will begin for the third time. Pavlova is 26, the youngest member of the team. Possibly the nerves getting to her a little bit here. There's an 8 on the other side, marked for a measure. I was going to say that you felt that Ukraine are starting to improve and go in the right direction, but actually not overly convinced by that anymore.
No, you can see the nerves in them, can't you? Both teams really here. So, you know, there's a lot at stake. You know, European Championships, they want to get on that podium. They want a medal. You know, this is one of the toughest positions sometimes, isn't it? The difference between on or off the podium.
Yeah, arguably the hardest fight off in any sports contest, that fight off for bronze. For a start, you've come off the back of a loss. A loss means that you don't really make the record books in this match.
Maya, just so much experience behind her. She spent some time in Korea through her university career really there, and learnt a lot in her time, and went on to be world champion in 2013.
Interesting, those arrows from Denmark all in the same line, and a bit more about the communication between these teams now for Denmark. If they can push them up and a little bit to the right, they're going to get some big scores in their final three. But again, we're seeing shots all over the place from Ukraine. And I mean, just to put that in context, I say all over the place, that they're shooting over 70 meters is incredibly high skill level to get them that close anyway. But at this level, we're expecting them to be grouped in the yellow rings.
Yeah, the 10 in the middle there is about the size of a CD. The whole target face is 122 centimetres across. But I think, yeah, the conditions are playing their part today of why these groups are a little bit wider than we'd expect.
Good finish, though, from Sichnikova. So 49. And again, an opportunity here for a potential of 54. So 5-point wiggle room here for Denmark. Definitely communicating both those arrows going up, and actually the group between those two last arrows from Denmark very close. Maya Jaeger was right of the two earlier on. She's gone right of the two this time and into the 10, and that is enough to take the set points in set number 3. Denmark leading 4 set points to 2 in this match for the European bronze medal. Look, we talked about communication, and it really is important in team matches, but it's interesting to see neither of these teams really seem to be communicating much between each other when they're actually shooting.
Yeah, it's when they come off the line. It's that point where you shout to your teammates, I aimed, 10 o'clock red or whatever, and yeah, it was a good shot. Sometimes you might come off the line and say, it's a bad shot, ignore it, it wasn't the wind, it was me. So it's really important they get that across to their teammates, so their teammate then knows what that condition looked like, and if it stays the same, where to aim for them as well.
Yeah, it's just an added layer of tension here, 2 weeks away from the final Olympic qualifier. Ukraine possibly only really thinking about working well as a unit and claiming a European bronze medal, whereas Denmark, they've got all of that, thinking about the bronze medal, but also they've got to prepare themselves as a team for that final qualification chance in Paris.
Yeah, when you're out here on the range, you've just got to stick to your process, do your normal shots, and then after this they'll reflect, they'll look at the match at the end and talk together about what do we learn from it, how can we improve for next time, and that's really important, that analysis and reflection as a team.
Quite a lot of communication between the Danish coach and the team, and there's a little bit of a pep talk from the Ukrainian coach and high fives. We're just starting to see the teams actually engaging with each other, remembering that they are working as a unit. Ukraine trailing by 4 set points to 2 here as we go into the 4th and final set.
A reset there, so something wasn't right in the shot perhaps. She knew she wasn't going to get through the clicker, came down, started again. It's going to impact on their time they've got left as a team.
It's the second time that's happened for Pavlova. Well, clearly they are talking because those 2 8s are right next to each other. Now, what will they have said to Sichnikova here? Are they going to be able to make the correction and bring this down and to the right? Yes, they are, and that's into the 9. Wind's picked up and now blowing straight into the face of Randy Dane. That is a big opportunity now for Ukraine. Unless Kirsten Anderson and Maya Jaeger can pop 2 arrows into the 10 ring. You've got to say that's the wind. At this stage, they just should be honing in. The groups should be getting smaller between the teams, but one's going right, one's going left.
Yeah, they've both gone quite high as well. It seemed like a real headwind there, so whether they thought, well, I'll aim higher because the headwind would push the arrows down, but it didn't really make that much impact, and maybe that's why they've gone high there. I was going to say, I think people think, you know, it's just left and right that makes the difference of the wind, but a headwind, a tailwind can push the arrows up or down as well. So it's a whole, you know, range of the clock face really that these archers are thinking about to aim.
Yeah, certainly is. Now, the opportunity was there for Ukraine at 7. Makes it a little more tricky now. Can't put this out of reach, but a 10 is definitely what they need to put some pressure on Denmark. Remember, Ukraine have to take this set clearly to get the set points and force a shoot-off. Looks very nervy, but she's popped in a 9. So 51, and as you can see, a maximum potential of 52 for Denmark here. Any more, and then one dropped point, and this will go into a shoot-off. Right, that is the drop point. Now, 2 10s here. Denmark win because they share the points. Any drop points, and we're going to a shoot-off. Talk about pressure. And that's it. 2 9s. Very good shooting from Denmark, but they lost this one in the first 3 arrows. And that seals their fate of 46 to finish for Denmark. 4 set points apiece. And the wind's definitely playing a factor here. 4 apiece after 4 means we will go to a shoot-off. So we've got a little bit of time to talk here, Nikki, because they'll clean the target faces. Brand new faces will go on there. You've got to say that the wind is playing a factor, but also nerves seem to be part of the order of the day here.
Yeah, obviously, you know, we had that year off last year with no competitions at all, and some of these archers haven't had the opportunity to shoot in these kind of conditions under the pressure here with all the cameras around them, and, you know, it is a high pressure event. So, you know, getting back into it, trying to stick with your mental routine. There's a lot you can do in practice to try and mimic that, but it's never really the same until you're out there on this shooting line. So, of course, you know, they're going to be nervous.
Yeah, and to some extent you've now got to put those nerves completely to one side, forget about the Olympic Games and really just use these 3 arrows to stake your claim for that European bronze medal. As we just go to look at Pavlova, you can see that she's battling some demons there. Reset twice, I think, in that match.
Yeah, something obviously wasn't right. She's in the middle position of the team there, which is usually, you know, the most comfortable position to be in. Someone to lead out for them, someone to finish off. So here we are with the shoot-off. We're going to shoot 1 arrow each, alternating between the teams. If they tie score again, it will go down to the closest arrow to the centre. And
just for good measure, look at the wind, picked right up. And then obviously as soon as I say that, it absolutely dies off. It's gusty. These are the worst conditions for the archers. the windsocks, for once, sort of blowing in the same direction. But you can actually see from the trees that the wind is definitely swirling at the end of this 70-metre range. And do you know what? The conditions are so tricky. I'm not sure what they can do. There is a little bit of what you said earlier on. Just aim for the middle. That's what you're trying to go for.
Yeah. If you're really not sure, you just literally have to aim for the middle and hope and shoot the best shot you can. Strongest shot possible.
Yeah. Well, targets have been cleared. Now the reason for that is we don't want any holes from before disrupting things if we go down to a measure. So first off, we'll see Ukraine shoot into a clean target face. And the first thing we're looking for is score. High score takes the European title here. Great start. It's the most confident arrow we've seen Marchenko shoot. She winced and she was being buffeted around there, but Randy Daines popped it into the 9. So all square.
Let's go, Christina. Lipo, stærk skud, Lipo.
What a great arrow, and on the X line as well, that little inside line of the 10, so if it does tie score, what a great arrow to have in the target.
So we need a 10 here from Ukraine, close to the centre of the target. Popped it into the 9. Now, here we can't have a tied score because we know that Denmark will win this. Hence, a 7 is all that's required to tie the scores up. What is Maya Jaeger going to do? Oh, she wasn't happy with it, but it's gone into the 8, and that's enough for the Danish team to win the European bronze in a shoot-off against Ukraine.
We have to wait for the official confirmation.
Well, as the stadium announcer is saying, we're waiting for the official confirmation, but I think we can fairly confidently say that is Denmark with medal. Not such devastating news for Ukraine. Obviously, they've not got the European title. They won't be happy about that, or the European bronze medal, I should say. But it's a great fillip for the Danish team, not just to win the title here, but to be able to come through what was a very tricky match going into Paris for the final qualification event for Tokyo Olympic Games.
Yeah, they're going to take a lot away from that. You know, this kind of experience, like I say, you can't really mimic it in practice. To come here, have a great tournament, you know, to get to this point, to come away with that bronze medal, they've got to take this with them now into Paris and really fight for that last quota spot. There's 3 women's team quota spots left up for grabs there, and they will be looking to get one.